Yeah, so let's do like our like full, I don't know how long we could like make this like a like story review for Tekken 8, right? The latest like entry in the Tekken franchise. Goddamn, the Khaiza played I think like 2 nights, right? How long like is the Tekken 8 story mode? How long is it? Oh, if you just like go through it, 2.5 hours. Main story should account for around 2.5 hours of this total, while arcade quest can be finished off in around 90 minutes once players have figured out how to quickly level up. I should try arcade quest, right? It's just like a little tutorial of how to play Tekken, right? Should probably like do that at one point, as well as like Tekken Ball. We finished the story mode to Tekken 8, and goddamn, what like a blast it was, right? Yeah, this is like the second story mode that Tekken has done. Oh no, technically third. Yeah, third, because like if you account for the Tekken 6 story mode, it was focused on like Lars Alexanderson, right? Because that's like kind of like his like debut game after like a sudden explosion and an encounter with Elisa Baskanovich, the cute waifu robot. He goes through like an amnesia journey and like fights Jin because in Jin, like Tekken 6 timeline, he assumed command of the Mishima Saibatsu after the end of Tekken 5 and just literally starts World War 3. Right, like dead ass, literally starts World War 3. It was all in his like quote unquote good intentions to fight like a big Egyptian bitch named Azazel and beat the shit out of him, because he thinks that Azazel is like the root cause of like, or the source, the progenitor of like the devil blood or the devil gene. Jin at that time was like looking for answers through, you know, unconventional means to subdue like the cursed Mishima bloodline in his veins. And so that was like Tekken 6, right? Then we have like Tekken 7 story mode, which is kind of like a precursor or a prototype to this one. It was very good and was very fun, but it mainly follows Heihachi, right? It was Heihachi's story to tell. And his story to tell was, you know, like a very splendid journey, though it could have been, you know, polished up and, you know, it would have done a little bit better without like that stupid ass like reporter guy like chronicling like or jotting down the events of Tekken, because, you know, his wife and family died in a blazing storm, right? Something like that, because of Jin Kazama's actions. So, it did Heihachi a lot of like service, right? Because, you know, like in real like lore wise, the voice actor for Heihachi passed away, right? Prior to, or I think it was like a year after Tekken 8's launch. So, correct me if I'm like mistaken, but yeah, the voice actor died, passed away, like, I think like a year before or after. Yeah, you gotta like correct me on that info, because I'm a little bit foggy on that one. So it was like a good like memento mori on the actor's like peak performance, which was Heihachi Mishima. But it didn't do a lot for Heihachi. It was more like highlighting just the 2 Mishimas that were alive at the time. The Heihachi, the Kazuya, and Akuma Mishima, right? It definitely brought a lot of focus on Akuma, who was a guest character but had like ties with like his with Heihachi's wife Kazumi, and Kazumi ordered Akuma as like an assassin to kill Heihachi and Kazuya to root out like the devil gene, right? All in vain because Heihachi comes out on top, but had to be beaten by his son, and Kaz throws him off like a volcano, right? And so now we're like in present time with, you know, Kazuya being like evil emperor CEO dickhead of G Corp, and it's all up to Jin Kazama to save the day. Like I said before, like when we were doing like some like story mode battles, this is 100% Jin's arc, right? This is his redemption arc. This is, you know, for all the times that like, you know, Jin was, you know, very like neutral. Like sometimes he's like one time he's like a good guy and the rest he's like a bad guy. He's a very like complex character with different ambitions / motivations. Can be seen as like, you know, an instigator, but kind of like all is forgiven for like Jin, and like Jin goes through a hella emotional / anime trip, right, to like regain himself and conquer himself, you know. So it was really awesome to see. If you're like a Jin Kazama fan, then this story will definitely like, you know, do Jin main's proud justice, right? He is like the main character. He is, you know, the prodigal like grandson. He is the Rock Howard of fucking Tekken, right? Bastard son, right? Has combinations of two styles, right? Mishima and the Kazuma style. Has his own style, has electrics, but has his own like gimmicks. A lot of shit is all about Jin Kazama, and of course they paint like Kazuya really like the bad guy, obviously, right? Really like he's a protagonist, right? Especially considering like, is Kazuya like a protagonist because he's in like in Smash Brothers? Like, nope. Sephiroth is in there and he's 100% villain. Nah. Kaz is a villain like through and through, you know? He's like the purest villain like he could ever be. Power is absolute to this man. But yeah, it's like a Jin Kazama redemption arc that really like pays off well. He constantly like battles his inner demons, battles like Devil Jin, has to deal with like the sins of his past, the mistakes that he has been made, and through like the first and middle acts of the story mode. By the time we go to like, you know, the third phase, Jin like wakes up and accepts like, you know, this is who he is, and rises up and battles Kazuya one last time as like he accepts himself, right? It's a very like, yeah, Tekken is really like, I mean, I said like anime before, but you know, and of course there are anime fighters that have like obviously anime centrics to it, but this whole arc definitely feels like it's like an anime journey, right? Anime journey for Jin Kazama, right? So it's really fitting. Definitely love like the fights that happened. My favorite like moments for this story mode were like anything involving QTEs, right? And the tournament scene. And of course, like the and also the Tekken Force mode section, like near the end of the story mode. Those were like my favorite fucking highlights, right? It's a culmination of like past like Tekken games, you know, before, right, in terms of their story modes. But yeah, I definitely dug like the tournament scene just to be able to like choose different like fighters. Yeah, it's I'll say this. This is the most fighting game accurate story mode there is, right? And what I mean by that, you know, traditionally, a lot of like fighting games, including like Mortal Kombat, right? Although Mortal Kombat has its like formula, has its own formula, but yeah, a lot of like story modes for fighting games have all these like, you know, these cool characters, the main characters, the side characters, right? We always like play as them. Like traditionally old school fighting games, you pick like a character, you go through like a round gauntlet of opponents, then you fight the boss, like enter like a tournament as like a round gauntlet, fight like a world-ending boss, and then you get like your ending, right? So a lot of like fighting games have like those old school traditional elements, but this story mode incorporates, you know, the historical essence, right? If I would like say about like a fighting game. Yeah, because it incorporates like a story mode. Everybody is driven with a passion to accomplish something in this story mode. It definitely like plays that out like beautifully and just overall well done, you know. Yeah, like the tournament scene especially, right? You get to choose between like different fighters. It's not like you get to like statically like choose one fighter and that's the character that you have to like stick with. No, you could choose between Steve or King or like Shaheen or Dragunov, right? So it's very cool to see that a fighting game incorporates that. This is like kind of like how I feel like revolutionary. Like, well, back to like Jin's like thing, he like enters the tournament to like find and seek out like himself, and he ultimately does by seeing his seeing his mom in like in the Garden of Fields is literally like a Kamen Rider Geats like moment where like Ace meets his mom like Mitsune after like all the fucked up shit by the Desire Grand Prix, and he unlocks like his final form, which is Geats Mark 9. Jin literally does like Ace Ukyo shit and unlocks like the angel mode inside of him, you know, and fights Kaz and beats the shit out of Kaz, right? It is like the ultimate father versus son story mode there is for Tekken, right? And we had like father-son moments before in Tekken like history, right? There was like the Tekken Blood Vengeance like CG movie. Was it Blood Vengeance or was it? Yeah, that was it. It was fucking a 2011 film, and it was really and it was dope, right? Just like chronicling like Tekken 6 timeline. Surprisingly, no Lars though, but it was still cool to see like a high octane like Mishima bloodline type of like bout, you know? That's good. Yeah, and it's just like fight after fight, like Jin always comes back, even though like Kazuya beats the shit out of him. He is the elder, he thinks power is absolute, power is strength, power like paves the way for, you know, peace or some shit like that, some like macho bravado like that, you know? But Jin just like keeps coming back up, and it's especially like highlighted in like in the last like segments of the story mode, you know? Yeah, when the moment like queues up for like, you know, the first fucking trailer of Tekken 8, the cinematic CG one, of like the Pave Your Ways song, right? It definitely kicks off very goddamn nice. And of course the final fight, which had like, you know, the intro song was really fucking dope. That's kind of like why I give this story mode a fucking badass like 9 out of 10, like as a preliminary score, because, you know, just it's so fucking dope. Like, this is what I like. It gave me some Metal Gear Rising Revengeance vibes, you know, like fighting Senator Armstrong, and then the music kicks up like standing here I realize, you know, it has that fucking moment during the end, you know. It was so fucking sick. I love this shit, bro. I love like high octane as fuck boss fight. I mean, look at how I am, like, homies, right? I play Devil May Cry, I play Bayonetta, I play Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, Wonderful 101. What do like most of those like games have in common? Like sick as fuck action moments highlighted with dope, like very well timed music bits, right? And this game heavily like does that, right? I love this shit. I love this shit. And of course, you know, Hi-Fi Rush, but Hi-Fi Rush gets like its own category. Every boss fight had like its own like musical song associated with the boss, and you get to like jam out with it with the rhythm. Yeah, it's like a literal like 9 out of 10. Has awesome moments, right? Has cool like fights, and of course, you know, silly fights, right? Tekken is, if not anything, right, silly. It's wacky. It's bullshit. You know, like a lot of like Tekken like history, if you do not focus on like the main storyline, like hell, it could be said for like KOF or Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, any like game that focuses on like their main characters and just focuses on and just diverts to like the side characters. A lot of like those characters like really don't contribute to like the main story at all. What does Abigail have to like know about like the Satsui no Hado, right? What does Azucena know about like the Devil Jit? No, she's a coffeeholic, right? So the story mode incorporates a lot of like the silly like hokey nature that is in fighting games, right? And it's like a ratio that I would have for like fighting game stories. 40% of fighting games focus on the main characters, the main plot of story modes. Your Shadowloos, your Devil Bloodlines, your Orochis, Ness, Ash Crimsons, versus your Mortal Kombats, the Mortal Kombat tournaments, right? Focusing on them would only contribute to like 40%. But that's only like in my opinion, a short-sighted vision of people might have that views those as like the main integral parts of a fighting game. No. The overmounting like 60% are like, you know, of course, well, the fighting, right? And the vast majority of like side characters that incorporate a fighting game. Those are what, you know, historically make a fighting game, right? Because if you have just like the main characters of like, let's say like your fighting game, then it's not going to be as much interesting, you know? Sure, it may be relevant to like the plot just to stick to have the main characters and the characters associated to those main characters, but a lot of fighting games historically have these side characters, these unknown characters that are not like relevant to like the main plot, but are like characters that are just a little bit for like everybody. Just those like characters like contribute to historically fighting games, right? They are what like make up a fighting game. Without those characters, we wouldn't have like a full fighting game. We would just get like, you know, a narrative piece, right? Kind of like, you know, like a single player driven game, you know? And that's fine, but it's kind of like, you know, if you just, it's kind of like if you have like a, what was it? A single player game, right? Like a God of War or something like that. Focus on like the main story. Yeah, you can definitely focus on like the main story of your like video game, right? Go nuts. But the whole like girth of like the single player game are like, you know, well, the game itself and all the other like smooth content that comes with it. You know, like gotta look at things as like, you know, the whole and not just like part of like, not look at like the parts of the sum, you know? And that's what like Tekken does, Tekken 8 story mode does beautifully, right? It accounts for almost, well, not almost. Does it include almost? Does it include like every character? Yes. It includes like every single character in the roster of Tekken 8 and incorporates them into like Tekken 8. No character is, you know, left unturned. Every character has like, you know, some like plot relevance in their own way, shape, or fashion, right? Parada loves to make things like wacky and silly, you know? And I like commended for that, right? We don't need to have like a lot of like story mode. Again, like it harkens back to like my review of like Hi-Fi Rush, right? The reason why I loved Hi-Fi Rush is that, you know, it's silly, it's wacky, it understands that it's a video game. It understands that it's a video game. Not every like video game has to have like a certain Last of Us or like a cinematic Spider-Man woven tale. No. I'm just here to like have fun and like have like a casual good time and press buttons. Simple as that. As simple as that, right? I don't need to feel like, you know, my wife left me like in a video game and I have to go through like the courses of guilt in like in a fighting game. Sure, that's, you know, that's cool because like I definitely felt that way like with indie games, and indie games have like their own formula of making like players feel, right? Their feels moments, you know? But it's a video game. I'm here to like have fun, right? And Tekken 8 does that beautifully, right? We're here to like enjoy ourselves and have fun and be hype, and of course, you know, be engaged, right? A lot of like moments in like Tekken 8 is, you know, outside of like the cutscenes, there are a lot of like interactive cutscenes as well, doing like QTEs. Which is why I think that like a lot of like fighting games should like follow this kind of like example. Yeah, because like we're in this age of like, you know, everything has to have like, you know, sort of like focus, you know, right? We're making our games like, excuse me, kind of AAA budget, and we are more than just a video game. We are like fucking Jeff Keighley's, right? We gotta make our stories like impactful, sort of have like some sort of spiritual message or meaning. And that's cool because we're in this like age now, we're in this generation, but it doesn't really like have to be, right? We can have like cool, like interesting games like Hi-Fi Rush and just have like a time. We can have like cool fighting game story modes like Tekken 8 that just love and celebrates like not only like the serious moments but also the majority of like wacky moments, right? So that's really cool. I definitely dig that for like Tekken 8, for Tekken 8 lore wise. Yeah, so like I definitely give like Tekken 8 story mode like a 9.5 out of 10. It's it's really good, right? Outside of like, you know, AI like pressing button, well, like, yeah, let's make it a 9, right? Let's make it a solid fat 9. Outside of like the AI like just constantly pressing buttons before you do, it is a fun time, and I definitely dig that about Tekken 8. Yeah, just a lot of fun across like the board.